right, we are back with another episode of Pristine Connections Group here with Karen Wood with Laine Photography. Welcome back.
Thank you.
Session 2. We're really excited. Got a lot of new questions for you. We're going to just deep dive into your industry a little bit more. Yeah. So how have things been going since we last talked? How's business?
Good. So working kind of feverishly on putting together the motherhood conference. So
Yes.
That's kind of been my focus lately.
Yeah. Talk about that.
So we're putting on an event to serve moms in the area that are, especially like new moms or first-time moms, that, there's a lot of overwhelm, especially with first-time moms. Like, am I doing this right? And who do I ask these questions? And you suddenly feel like they're not a manual for this, And so we're hoping to help that by getting moms connected with other moms in the same stage and connecting them to experts that can answer questions and just kind of throw them a party.
Yeah, absolutely. So when is the event taking place? End of August, correct?
Yes, August 25th.
Perfect. And so what kind of, vendors can some of these moms expect to be there?
Yeah, we've got quite a lineup. So our focus is not to sell to anyone, so it's not really vendors. There will be some display tables for people who aren't speaking. Excuse me. But the focus is really just to bring in people who can really answer questions and educate and support and encourage. So we have a lot of birth professionals, doula, midwife, pharmacist, holistic health nutritionist, and then some more variety, kind of a wider scope with like a dog trainer to help you with introducing your baby to your dog, and
that's huge.
Yeah, and a financial planner to help you, kind of shift your financial planning to include a family now,
Absolutely.
and estate planning and all those kinds of things that we kind of on the fringe we don't really think about, but are important to parenting.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
Just a vast array of people.
Yeah,
so,
that's great. That's really exciting. Well, talk to me about, what are some of the biggest misconceptions that people have about your industry? Obviously, you offer a wide range of, just different types of photographs, sessions, things like that.
Yeah. One of the biggest misconceptions is probably that it's, a lot of people kind of think that that prints are dead and digital is because we're in the digital age and everything's digital, but I think it's really kind of a misconception, because print is forever. Like, you print it and it's going to last as long as that image. I have images hanging on my walls from my great-great-grandparents.
Wow.
Like, I have old stuff, right? and it's really cool how that kind of builds a legacy in our home. And when my kids were younger, they would be like, "Who is that?" And like my great-grandfather's World War I military photo, and they want to hear the story of that he was in the World War I and who he was and what he was like and all those things. And so it just kind of builds that legacy, and it's there forever. Digital, I think everyone should have digital copies of the images they have as a backup, but it's not enjoyed every day because it's not out where you see it, and we can't rely on technology. It changes all the time. And I've already lost from when digital just started, and I had portraits done and had digital copies of those images. And all I have left is the prints from those, because the technology has changed, and I can't put that hard little, square 3.5 whatever inch disc in the computer anymore, So
I know. I love to see how photographs have evolved over time from prints, just families not smiling in photographs to, they're all black and white, and then they're like a sepia type filter, and then, you introduce color and everyone's smiling. And I mean, I loved to see how everything has evolved, especially from like our great-great-grandparents and stuff like that. It's wild to me. Speaking of that, how have industry standards changed since you've started?
Well, the introduction of going from film to digital, I think, is certainly the huge shift, and it kind of lowered the playing or lowered the bar for people to enter the industry. Because it was so expensive, like every time to learn, you were spending money on film and developing and chemicals and all that stuff that you suddenly didn't have to spend on, and you could instantly get feedback on how your image came out. And so I think it created a huge rush into the field for people who felt like it was out of reach before.
Yeah.
And I think we're feeling that still today. We're still adjusting kind of to like, how do we marry the best of both of those worlds to give people the best service? So
Sure.
And then I think AI is something to watch as it evolves. I think it will definitely have an effect on not just our industry, but across the board, how we live our lives.
Yeah.
And the trick is going to be kind of figuring out how to use that to our advantage and as a tool and not a detriment.
Yeah.
Because every new thing that comes along has a flip side of the coin, so to speak.
Yeah.
So.
I will say the one thing about AI that I've noticed, and it's creepy, is how realistic I've seen images look. So my brother-in-law, for example, did like, not an avatar, but that's what I keep wanting to call it, but it was an AI image of himself from his profile picture. And I, scrolling through Facebook, it was a quick glimpse, and I'm just like, oh wow, Caden, like that's a cool profile picture. And it was AI, and I'm like, hold on, like this is creepy that they can make this so realistic from an image.
But it's also funny. It is creepy because you look at it and you go, "There's something not quite right about this image," but I'm not sure what it is.
Yes.
But it's funny because like it doesn't do like small body parts well. So like the hands and the arms and the
Yes.
legs, and so you might look and you're like, "Oh wait, what is wrong with their hand?"
I know. Like distorts it a little
bit. Someone did one for fun the other day, one of the newborn photographers, and it had those supposed to, I guess she put in something like pea in a pod newborn or something, and but it duplicated it. So it was like 15 babies in the picture.
Yeah.
And the faces were cute, but then when you looked at it, it's like all of them had like distorted, like deformed looking arms and hands and feet and stuff. And I'm like, okay, that's too far. That's creepy.
That is creepy, especially for babies. I'm like, no, don't.
Like,
yeah.
But at first glimpse, it's like, oh, that's kind of cool. What can I do with that? But then when you really nail it down, it's not there yet. And it's one more way that we're disconnecting from each other. I know. And disconnecting from like authenticity and reality. So I think it's something we have to be cautious of. And it'll never do the job of taking someone into the studio and getting to know who they really are and what they want to communicate and working through that. And I think we're going to see a huge, even more than we have seen, trend towards authenticity and being real because so much of the world around us is not to be trusted anymore,
I know. And that was kind of my point with the AIs. I'm just like, what's actually, I mean, it's a good thing that you pointed out there's certain things that are actually distorted that helps you, but I mean, it's just creepy. It's very interesting. It'll be interesting to see what happens in the next, really year or two. I always say like 5 years down the road, but technology is changing so fast that I'm like, maybe it'll be next year,
Yeah. But I think another challenge we're going to have with it too, to watch for is I totally lost my train of thought. Maybe it'll come back to me later.
It'll come back. It's all AI. I'm just kidding.
Right? This was just AI.
That's okay. So what's an unpopular opinion that you personally have about your industry? We always hear about everybody else having whatever opinions they have, but what about you?
Yeah. Gosh, there's so many. I think one of the unpopular opinions I probably have is that maybe not everybody's cut out to do this as a business. And there's so many people who are working so hard, and we're artists.
Yeah.
And it's really hard to be an artist and an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
And to think like a business person, because I think naturally as artists, especially when we create something so personal as a portrait, we just really want that everyone to have that. Yeah. I want to make something beautiful for every person I meet and celebrate them and let them see themselves as that wonderful person, But I also have to run a business, and I have a responsibility to do that profitably and responsibly,
Right.
ethically. So I have to be fair to all my clients, and I have to charge what is profitable and allows me to live a good life with my family and have that work-life balance. And I think so many artists do it because of their heart, and then they get in the middle of it and they're like, oh my God, I'm working myself to the bone because they're not charging enough. So probably my unpopular opinion is raise your prices, fellow photographers. Lean in on this one. Guys, charge what will pay your family and give you a real life instead of sitting up at 1 o'clock in the morning editing for a deadline.
Sure.
So.
And not necessarily so much as like a hobby. You know, a lot of people get into photography as a hobby. They just want to like learn the camera, just take lifestyle type pictures, if you will.
Yeah.
And, you know, those that are actually like moving into this career. I mean, you're learning different lighting. I mean, there's so much that truly goes into making it a career that I think a lot of people may not realize, you know, it takes a lot of practice.
It's a lot of years of trial and error and practice and learning technical things and things that you would never dream of that you're like, what is that? And the lighting and posing. And angles and all of those things. And then you finally come to the point where you can push a button. Everybody thinks it's just pushing a button, right? And then the rest of the people think it's just Photoshop, and you know, it doesn't matter. And I mean, there is like, you can be kind of a bad photographer and still get a decent image with Photoshop, right?
Yeah.
But who wants to spend their whole life trying to fix things?
Right.
I mean, but yeah, it's a lot. And then a lot of expense. I mean, people would be probably ill to their stomach if they knew how much money goes into the gear and the props. And
I believe it, especially nowadays. You know, prices have raised. Camera prices are. I mean, even iPhones are thousands of dollars too, for sure. What would you say is probably like the biggest risk that you've taken in business so far?
I think it's kind of. It's not what you would think, but it was just moving here. I packed up a perfectly functioning, very good business in the middle of a pandemic to come back to Texas, and it was insane. And my husband kept asking, "Are you sure you want to do this? What if your business doesn't make it there?" You know, it was kind of it was pretty risky.
Absolutely.
But it was totally worth it to be here in Texas, back in Texas, and with close to my family and everything.
Absolutely.
So,
yeah. It's always that first step. That's what we always talk about. You took the step. It's hard. The hard part's done, and now you just work to build back up.
Yeah, so it's totally starting over, but yeah, it is what it is.
Well,
it's
how
fun,
are things
challenge.
going then since moving back? I mean, are you where you wanting to be? Are you know?
I don't think I'll ever be where I want to be. That's like my personality is like that content but never satisfied kind of mentality that, okay, well, what can we do now, you know? And probably a little ADD plays into that. There's like 100,000 things in life I want to do. How do I get them all in? But yeah, you know, I'm really happy to be in a new space that's all mine, and you know, baby steps. But
absolutely,
it's moving forward, and I love all of it. So
no, I think that's exciting. I think the workshop that you're doing is going to be huge. I mean, that's what just everybody we talk to is just all about the education piece, and I mean. Some of these are new moms, brand new. They may have just gotten married or aren't married yet, and they're trying to figure out where to start and put the pieces together because there's so much that goes into babies. What is next in your business ventures? You're obviously content but never satisfied. So what's next on the horizon?
The list is long, and I don't know if I'll ever get there to all of them, right? But it's I am an ideas person. I'm always thinking, oh, we could do this, you know.
Yeah.
So just implementing it sometimes is more than just a thought. But working on this conference, and then I have a project planned for. As a fundraiser and educational piece for to benefit the rescues and shelters in the area for rescue dogs. So we're going to do a book of rescue dogs and tell their stories. And in that, we're going to include educational stuff about the problem that we have in North Texas of the overcrowded shelters and the animal abandonment.
Yeah.
And kind of help people with tools they can use to have the best experience they can with their pet so that their pet is never one of those sitting in a kennel in a shelter on death row.
Yeah. It's a big problem right now.
Yeah.
I see it all the time on Facebook. Our shelters are full. So.
It's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
And I know in the grand scheme of life, it's like, it's not a person dying, it's not a child who's been abandoned. And I know those are problems, and those are needs too that we need to address. But I love my doggies, and it's all started with one that showed up in our yard one day, and it kind of got us going on this. But so that's one that we're working on, and kind of to that end, I have to go with that a plan to develop some like greeting cards for fundraisers that will have pictures of pets, and children's books. I've always wanted to write children's books, so that'll be another one coming up on different things. And so, it's just always something, real estate investment.
Yeah.
I've always got stuff going, like ideas.
Yeah,
so,
that's great. That's really great. Well, it's exciting to see, I know we've met months ago on this, but just to kind of see how things have evolved, and obviously hearing more about your workshop and what's next for you. Anything else you want to share that you want, everybody to know about before we wrap?
I don't know. I would love to share about our experience in our studio.
Okay,
if we have a few minutes.
Let's hear about it.
Yeah, so I'll tell you a little story. Our youngest daughter was graduating high school. She's been my muse since she was little bitty. Like, she was like, oh, I want to try something new. Come on, let's dress you up, know? And she was always ready and willing, and lots of fun to do that. And I'm so glad I have all those pictures, and we've had that experience together. But when she got ready to graduate high school, we did her senior pictures. And I think that was the first time I realized what an intense impact portraits have on a psyche, like self-esteem and confidence. When we did this session, we had a great time together and everything. And she made some comments following that at the end when we were getting in the car. She was like, oh, that was so great. And then she was like, Mom, could you take my friend's pictures? I'll leave the friend's name out. She could really use some confidence.
Oh, that's
And
sweet.
I was like, it really struck me. Like, she was really intent on that. I'll call her. I'll set everything up. Tell me when you can do it, kind of thing. And that was really that moment when I went, wow, like, this is important. This is really important. So I'm really passionate about that. And have done a lot of research on it too. There have been studies done talking about using children as an example, and talking about how images of them and their families displayed in the home, how significantly it boosts their self-esteem. So I think that's something that goes with me into every session. And because of that, I know that every person has a story. We all have a story, right? We all have those people in our lives that are important to us, that matter to us. And so with every experience in the studio of the custom session, the first thing we start with is a deep conversation to find out who you are, who are the people that you want to celebrate with you in the portraits, why, not only how are they important, but why are they important to you. And so we start with that story and design the session around that. Yeah. So that story can be told, and that's what you're going to have hanging in your home to remind you of that every day. And so we start with that little interview, if you will, that getting to know each other and designing that session. And then, life is busy, and we know that, so we want to take all of the stress of that session off the table for you. So we include hair and makeup services, an in-home design, wardrobe design consultation where we help you pick the clothes and the look for your session. So you don't have to worry about that. And then, of course, we have lots of fun together in the session. But then we bring you back in. We celebrate you by displaying those photos and letting you choose your favorites, design beautiful artwork. And then we come to you and we install and deliver for you. So literally, you're showing up and having a great time, and then have something delivered to your doorstep and hung on your walls for you that's amazing and reminds you of that great experience.
That's beautiful. That's really unique. I love that. That's just a heightened experience. Yeah. Which is great. That's amazing. I love that. Well, we will make sure, we definitely need to talk, more about your event, and we'll make sure this gets out. I mean, are you full? I guess that's a better question.
No, we have room. Okay. And we'd love to have you there.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for joining us again. We're happy to have you. Love hearing your success stories. So congrats on your studio.
Thank you.
Thank you. We will see you next time.
Awesome.